guys, welcome back to Redbeard's Workshop. Today I'm going to be working on something pretty exciting. I'm actually going to be making something for my mom. I think all of us, we all feel the same way. We all think we have the greatest mom in the world. But my mom has always been incredibly supportive of all of my passions and everything that I apply myself to. She's my biggest cheerleader and supporter. From the time I played football, as you can see here, she actually managed some of my teams. She was so involved and so supportive. And ever since I was a little kid, she was the one who kept pushing me to do art and said, you're really talented. You should do this. You should try it. It makes you happy. And so I don't know if I would be where I am today trying things and doing things if it weren't for her support. So my mom recently started officiating weddings, which is really exciting for her because it's something she always wanted to do for years and years. And I was really proud of her when she started. Now, for the wedding, she has a binder where she keeps all the documents in and she holds it up during the ceremonies and has all of her stuff there. She asked me, because I've made some leather binders before, if I would be willing to make a leather binder for her that she could use in the ceremonies and maybe have her company logo on the front of it. I was obviously incredibly excited and said yes right away. Now, in the past, I've made 2 leather binders, both of them for my own D&D campaign so that I can keep track of all the locations and monsters and players and quests and everything just to keep myself organized. So the first one that I made was for my Elysia campaign. So I don't know how well it shows up here, but it's kind of an E with a dragon sort of depicted on it. So I created this big leather binder for myself with a little, snap there. And it's got all my stuff in it that I need. I've got a couple of these little side pouches to hold documents. And then I actually cut out a 3-ring metal binding spine. And then I actually covered it with this black leather on the inside of the spine, which is really cool. This is for my dark, kind of Diablo, Castlevania, Witcher-esque campaign that I'm running. Very spooky and creepy. It's one of the first times where I've done almost like 3D carving, where you go behind the wet leather and you press into it to try to make the leather harden and form. So this is actually the skull kind of imprints out of the leather. Just some backgrounding here. So I love the way that looks. I really played with the color by putting a border on it. I put 2 of these leather straps on this one. I put some string inside here with the wet leather, did the same thing to mold it outward. So it's got that cool kind of binded spine look to it. And on the back, I actually carved in runes a message and a bit of a story that actually explains the entire purpose and the big bad of the campaign, and then had a werewolf tear through the back of it. So I was really excited to get started. So far what I've done is I've actually cut out the main outside piece, or the inside piece I should say, for the binder, and I've got my spine ready to go. Alright, so where I am right now in the binder is I've got the metal spine, the metal ring spine, actually taken out of another binder, a little cheap binder that I got. So the point here, and I've done this before with multiple binders, as I've shown you guys in the intro. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take rivets and I'm going to put it in with rivets after I've dyed everything. On my other binders, what I did was I actually put it on the inside, on the rough spot, and then I would dye the entire thing. I would carve something on the outside. But what I'm going to be doing for my mom on this one is I'm going to be putting her company logo on a flat piece that I'm actually going to put on the outside here. So when she's holding the binder, the people at, the weddings are going to see the outside here. So I'm going to take another side, carve it on the soft edge, the smooth edge, and then I'm going to contact cement here, and then I'm going to stitch on the outsides and put it covering the outside here. Try to give a little bit of give here where I don't put contact cement here. That way when the binder bends, it doesn't pull the leather too much and it ends up stretching and wearing that middle piece of the carving on the inside here. So there's going to be a point probably from here to here where there's no contact cement. So along with the thinner leather that I'm going to be using for the outside of the pouches here, I do have the suede leather, which I think will be a perfect kind of membrane to create sort of that in-between pocket between the hard leather piece on top and then that little bit of in-between, so that it kind of opens up and folds a little bit for her to be able to tuck papers inside. All right, so just a little update on where we are. I did a couple things off camera. So this is the inside piece of the binder. Now, what this is going to do is going to attach the rough side to the rough side of the outside cover. That way I can stitch everything to this and it won't show up on the outside cover. Now this is what we've got here for our pocket. So this is where all the papers are going to be able to slide in, because we got the two smooth sides here, so the papers will slip in pretty easily. So I got a little section here for some pens, which is great. And then I use the suede leather, the soft leather, to make kind of a membrane. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch all the holes on this side. And then before I stitch it, I'm going to punch all the holes on this side as well. Because once one side is stitched in, it's going to be incredibly difficult to punch the holes with this piece, like folding this on the inside. The only way would be to like punch it this way, but then, you know, it's just going to be weird. It's going to be off. So we're going to do that, punch the holes, and then we'll stitch this together. And then this pocket will be completed. And then we've got our little leather strips, which we're going to stitch in here, which are going to be card slots for business cards. The colors didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted to for this project. I ran out of certain leather dyes and kind of had to make do with what I got. It kind of has a nice wood grain here. And, you know, the actual company is obviously evergreen. It has the trees on the front of the card, and we have trees on the front of the cover. So I'm hoping she still likes it, even though it kind of didn't turn out the way I had envisioned in my mind. But that's where we're at right now, and that's what we're going to continue with. So in this chunk of the video, I'm going to show you guys how I attach the membranes here. And then once we have that done, we're going to literally attach all of these pieces to this inside cover. Alright, so this will happen sometimes when you're trying something new that I haven't done before, and I'll have to try to keep that in mind for this one. When I decided to stitch in a line here to make the pouch kind of close so that things could go in here, it put everything on an angle. It's kind of hard to see, but everything shifted this way. So this side is kind of tight, but there's this big gap here where it doesn't move over. And I thought I lined everything up properly, but then I realized when I stitched, I ended up missing a hole here. I ended up just like putting the stitch through, but it doesn't go into anything. I accidentally stitched it lines, like holes over accidentally, and skipped some stuff. So it pushed everything over. So I cut the string. I'm going to pull all the thread out, and then I'm going to re-stitch it. Sometimes you have to put in a little extra work, which takes a little bit of extra time and can be frustrating, but that's okay. We want this to be good when it's done. Alright, so I figured out what happened with the pouches and why they're off. I didn't measure the starting line so that it was the same distance from the bottom on both sides. This one's not as bad. You can kind of pull it so that it's straight. It's not terrible. This one, however, there's a huge misalignment here. The only thing I could do is I could take out all the stitching, try to realign it, keep it straight, and then put it back in. So I'm going to do that off camera and try to just nudge this so that it's straight. All the stitching on the back is going to be covered up when it's pressed against our cover here and connected. So none of that's going to be visible. So we're kind of okay. I can afford to do that. And this stitch line, once this moves, will be covered up anyway. So I can make that adjustment and we're going to be okay. All right, so this is going to take me a fair bit of time to stitch all this around and then back, and then to do it all the way around this side and then back. Rather than speeding up the footage and going through the entire process and having to hold out the binder while I'm stitching to be on camera, I'm just going to get it done. All right, so pretty much everything is done here. Got some paper in here. We got our pen holders. Got more paper in here. Everything's working great. Got our extra pouch, business card holders, and everything's good to go. We have our outside here put on with our contact cement or leather glue, and I did stitch The outside, just to keep it more secure in case for any reason it gets hot and the contact cement separates. It's not a typical thing that happens. But just in case, or enough pressure peels them apart. But now that I stitched the line and then I trimmed and cut to make sure everything was uniform, I'm going to put my edge finisher on the outside. And now most of my binders, I didn't bother doing this because I like the old rustic feel. But if you buy like a leather book, or you buy leather wallets or anything where two leather pieces have been attached, typically the edge is so smooth it looks like it's one piece. And the way they do that is by putting a sort of finishing agent. And so right now I've got this burnishing agent that I'm going to put on the outside here. And usually when I use a hand burnisher, I can never get the pieces to fully connect. There's always a line and it's never quite smooth. I've seen people use the automatic machines where they run and turn and they just guide it over it like a polisher. I don't have one of those, but what I do have is a rotary tool that I use for wood carving. So I thought if I put one of these smooth ends on here, I can put the agent on the outside and then possibly use this to burnish the edges. I've never done this before, but I'm going to give it a shot today and just see how it goes. This is going to show up there. You can kind of see here, you can see the two separate pieces where they line up. Now this is an edge that I've burnished now using this, and it looks a lot smoother. I can see a bit of a line still separating the two pieces, but I'm going to keep going at this for a while until I get it nice and smooth. Whew. All right, so finally got it done. This project was a little bit more difficult because although I've made a couple other binders before, I've never made binders that had pouches in them for putting papers or pens or anything else like that. Yeah, I've made some mistakes. I had to redo a lot of stitching to take things out completely and start over, but it was definitely worth all the work to get this finished. I'm really happy with this. I really hope my mom is too. It's not exactly how I wanted it to turn out. I wanted it to be lighter. I had to make it darker. Without any patterns or previous knowledge, I had to guess exactly how I was going to make a lot of the pouches and everything. So could it have been better? Absolutely, but I still think it looks good, and it will definitely serve the purposes for my mom's wedding officiant business. So we've got the 3 trees up front, the evergreens, for her Evergreen Moments company that she runs. Then on the inside, of course, we've got our pen holders. We've got a pouch here for whatever kind of document she's going to need. We have our 3-ring binder, and honestly, I was so happy. I went out and bought a heavy-duty spine, ripped it out of the binder, and put it in after I broke my first one. Now, the problem is with these, when you're putting in your rivets to connect the spine to the leather, you have to hammer the top of the rivet down over the ring that you place over it. And on this one, I couldn't exactly hammer it down as much as I wanted, so that rivet's not going to be as tight as I'd like, just because the actual ring, the rings get in the way, and the actual little tail here gets in the way. So I couldn't hammer it as much as I wanted to without breaking it, which is what happened to the first one. And then obviously we've got the 2 sections here where I've got one of her business cards, so that's pretty great. She can put her cards in there, and then just a miscellaneous pouch for whatever the heck else she's gonna need. But I'm very happy with the way this came out. Now, I told my mom yesterday, oh, I'm gonna have the binder finished. It's gonna be ready to give to you. I spent 5 or 6 hours working on it today to finish it up, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was so much work." And that's just such a typical thing that my mom does. Is she hates asking for things, and then when she does, she hates imposing on anyone. But it was a pleasure to do this for her. I mentioned in the video, she's always been the most supportive person in my life when it comes to artwork, when it came to my dreams of playing football. She's always been involved and always been supportive. And it's weird. I think if you're lucky enough to have either or both parents in your life, or any parental figure, be incredibly supportive to you, you sometimes forget that they were people too, with their own passions and their own hobbies and their own desires and goals. If those parents give things up and just put all their energy into supporting you in your life, it's really fulfilling to see them doing things that they love at later points in their life. I mean, my mom's wanted to be a wedding officiant for years. She's talked about just the pure joy that she gets of being part of the most joyous day in other people's lives, and she wants to be a part of that and contribute to their joy and be surrounded by that kind of love and happiness on those days. So she's wanted to do this for years because she is such a bright and light person that I was absolutely happy to do this for her. I didn't care what level of work it required to do it, because she's worth it. And I'm so proud of her for you know, engaging in the things she's passionate about, finding her loves, her joys, her hobbies. And she spent so many years supporting all of the different hobbies that I've had and interests that I've had, that being able to do something to support something she's passionate about in one of her projects, I don't care if it took me like 20 hours to make something for her. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to work my ass off because of all the things she's done for me over the years. So I guess the point of this whole spiel is A, I love you, Mom, and B, if you guys have parents who are kind of mentioning or kind of throwing it out that, oh, you know, I think I'm going to get into this, I think I'm going to try that. Think about all the things that either were serious or not serious, or things you gave up on, but they were still so excited to help you and encouraged you and challenged you to be better. Let's try to give that back to our parents. Let's show them how appreciative we are of the things they do for us. And you know what? Maybe you didn't have parents who were like that. Maybe you had coaches or teachers or older brothers or whatever. I think we all see life through our own lens, and it's important every now and then to notice when other people are putting themselves out there, they're stepping on a ledge, they're trying new things, and to be as supportive as possible with them. So speaking of support, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I appreciate every single one of you who like the videos, who subscribe to my channel and continue coming back to watch the some mediocre, some good videos that I make. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Redbeard's Workshop.